Okay, I'd like to continue. Before I get to the clarity of the gospel, the good news, I'd like to make one short point in this second video. Um, have you felt the drawing of God in your life and what that would look like? Because I've, in hindsight, I've been born again for 46 years. In hindsight, I was 30 years old when the Lord revealed His Son to me. I'm 77 in March. Um, but in hindsight, thinking about those early years of my youth, I can remember different things uh, that happened where, certainly I never related to God. I mean, not in a real way, but that God was real and that there was something in me uh, that had a response uh, to who He was. Uh, I'll give you an example. I remember I was a young kid, about 10 or so, and how I remember these things. I got a terrible memory at this point, but um, I was thinking about the golden rule. I wasn't religious, but most of us knew the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it just struck me that I would never do unto others except I really thought that it was worthwhile for me. And that's not how God is. And that's not what He means when He says that. He's looking for everything to build a bridge of relationship between Himself and every living soul. It's not His desire that any of us perish. So He really wants us to have a genuine reflection of His love. But in that drawing, you see that, gee, I'm not that way. Everything finds its conclusion in how I relate to it. Certainly, my judgment is my judgment, and the things that I will act upon and how I act upon them really is how I feel about it, or how I can, what I feel safe doing. A lot of times we don't do what we want to do because we're afraid to, good or bad. But anyway, the drawing's there uh, for anybody who has a heart towards God at all. It says in one place in the scriptures, his eyes are going to and fro throughout the whole earth, looking for any's heart who's perfect towards him. And I think God's definition of perfection lies in His knowing who we are. So it's a genuine response that He's looking for, something real, even though uh, as we're lost in our sin and really have no mind towards God, there's something there that just, I don't know, values uh, the reality of who He is. Something that, in the terms of what's happening in the world now, like I said in the first video, we're all going into a valley of decision because God is allowing this world to spin out of control before finally He brings us to judgment. Um, those who value God are thinking in terms of, oh, the family's so important, yet the family's being destroyed. Genuine and true relationships are so important, and yet they're being all submitted to pleasure and certain wicked, perverse things that are just growing and growing among us. And I think we all have a rejection of that. But when I say we all, I mean everybody under the drawing of God. There's a lot of people who don't, and that's a shame. But I want you people out there to know that that feeling in you that really is very concerned about the way things are going is something that can be developed and nurtured by God. And it all ends up with the scripture that Jesus said, no one can come to me except the Father draws him. So I'll pick up on that in the next video.